welcome back to our second hour of tonight. I am a little excited to show you this Baby Magnus edition. I had a little fun coming up with the name. I don't think we actually landed on anyone that I wanted to. Oops. Kind of wanted to call it like Baby Magnus on the Time Machine, or this week 12 years ago, actually 13 years ago, oh my god. Yeah, they were a lot of fun. So we kind of, never mind, we did land on Time Machine Baby Magnus. Yes, great. Ha, that should be fun. So let me one of the games, like there were so many great games that Magnus has played in the Tata still, or in the vacancy, but I think one of like I'm having a trouble deciding between the one that he played against Mamedyarov or the one that he played against Van Wely. One of those two are definitely more exciting, but let's start with Mamedyarov one, and hopefully we can work our way, and I'll try my best to speak a little faster than I would usually do, so we can definitely try and fit in both of them. Alright, so let's go. Let's go from me to Baby Magnus. So far, like, it's a normal opening. I don't really anticipate anything happening with this. Let me also, before we get too deep, let me give you a mini background on why I am talking about this tournament. One of the reasons that this tournament is so cool is because Magnus had this very interesting 5 wins that he really was proud of, and well, as chess fans, so are we. And there was another very interesting idea in this tournament. He shared the first place with Aronian, and he was really a baby. These games are from 2008. So 2008, what was I doing? 2008, I had a rating of, I think, 1700. 2008 is when I played World Youth Championship under 10 in Vietnam. I was that baby. You can imagine how baby Magnus was. So, yeah, so that's why we have our Baby Magnus title for now. And I think this was a very interesting game as well as tournament. But alright, let's just go ahead and continue our breeze through the Mamedyarov game, because I really do want to get to the Van Wely game. I don't exactly play this line as white, but I am familiar with it enough to know that I think Mamedyarov was probably not taking Magnus seriously as seriously as he should have. There we go, that's better wording. Which is something that happens a lot when a kid enters the 2700 club, which is actually another reason that I'm showing you this, because I've heard a lot of questions and comments on Ali Reza Firuzja. It's kind of funny because my dad's name is Ali Reza, so it gets a little confusing up here. But yeah, so Firuzja is like Baby Magnus, and when like 13 years ago, when Magnus had a rating of 2733, it is similar to Ali Reza having that rating today. And again, in a week or so, oh sorry, actually tomorrow, my bad, tomorrow the Tata Steel tournament is happening again, and Ali Reza is playing in it, and I think it's kind of cool, like, to put these parallels together. Anyways, so just like a little non-chess information for you chess lovers. Yeah, PT, I do think that is something that happens, especially when more experienced players play the younger kid. They might just think that he's not as experienced, and they're right. A lot of the times they can actually get away with underestimating him, but most of the time it also gets a little tricky, as we're seeing in this game. So, quick question. For those of you who know the theory, feel free to throw hints in the chat. But for those of you who don't play this, like me, bishop takes f3. What do we think about that? Do we think this is a good idea to come all the way with this bishop and take the on f3? What's up, Chess King? Oh, thank you, Camilo. Alright, so I think that you guys are somewhat warm, like, alright with this idea, but if you don't know the opening, you would probably not play this bishop g4, bishop f3, which is very understandable. Yes, if you can keep the e4 pawn where it is, then yeah, okay. So I understand this move because your bishop, it's going to have a hard time. Yes, you can definitely try to play like a e6, knight e7, then try to like castle, or if needed be e5. But your bishop is kind of on the way, and so if you could get rid of it, it's not the worst idea. But then again, if I looked at this position and if I did not know the theory, I don't think I would play bishop g4. Bishop g4 makes sense on the sense of, alright, knight d4 also may be coming up. I'm not going to do long castle, so that's not any, it doesn't really have anything to do with that. So take. Now, knight f6, normal development. In the game, white simply played d3. There were other ideas such as knight d5 that's worth mentioning, but d3 is simple, sweet, nothing wrong with that. Castle, queen, and now again knight d5 is a possibility because if you were to take it, now let's say something like knight d4, whoops, forking here, queen has to go back. Black gets this chance to start march on the queen side. And I'm assuming this is not a very comfortable idea for Mamedyarov to allow Magnus to march with his queenside pawns, and this bishop also becomes a baby monster. Well, actually, a full-grown monster. So I would genuinely understand why this idea of knight d5 might not be so pleasant. You don't want to help your opponent to open their bishop, right? So, however, this knight d4 is coming up. So what do you think white should do here? This is 2008. That's why it's a time machine, and that's why it's baby Magnus. I think after Magnus won the world title, became the world champion, or even a year before that, after 2012, Magnus was not a baby. He was a mini king. Let's go with that. Prince? Oh, that just feels weird. So I agree, there's some ideas that maybe you should push this pawn. Definitely, because you have two bishop, opening up the center is something that we've been taught from when we start learning chess. Well, Tata still is starting, I believe, from tomorrow, so we should have a lot of fun with that. I am going to play in, there is like a small tournament that's being organized by Kasparov Foundation in like 2-3 weeks. I will be playing that. I have a mock exam in less than 2 weeks to let me know how horrifyingly it's going to hurt the MCAT score. I have a mock exam from my school. They were very sweet and nice to organize that, but I am slightly terrified by it. No, we are looking at this week, just back in 2008, when Magnus, and yes, we're looking at 2 games of Magnus. Alright, so I see some ideas. Maybe knight e2 is not a bad idea, but after knight e2, again, knight d7 could be played, and or something like rook c8, or also this knight, when it forfeits, this ideas of b5 also kind of gets a little interesting. How many is the MCAT. Well, MCAT is 8 hours altogether. The studying for it is something like 800 hours. Alright, so white played queen d1. I'm assuming queen d1 is to push for f4 immediately and to also stop the nonsense stuff with knight d4. But honestly, in the game, if my opponent played queen d1, I would internally be just a little bit happy because I didn't even have to attack you and you backed out already. So just psychologically, just a little bit. Anyways, after queen d1, knight d7 was played. Now after f4, black to move. What do you think we should do? I'll give you guys maybe a little less than a minute. Huh. MCAT. I wish MCAT was just a tall cat. That would make my life much easier. I'd just give it some tuna and be done. Ah, my windows are open. Okay. My cat is beginning to sing. I'm assuming the stray cat is back. Anyways, so I see a lot of ideas about e5, bishop d4s, moving the knight around a little, but I don't see anybody saying the right move. Even f5 is interesting, but the problem is if you play something like f5, he's just going to play knight d5, or he's just going to take it over here. When you take back, now this bishop is open, and that's the bishop that you don't have. So something like rook e1, so I apologize. Oof. So something like rook e1, so this stops your e6 ideas. Maybe want to throw in this bishop d5 idea. So it's not as easy as I would like it to be. So I don't really want to play this f5 at the moment. Magnus played c4. A little surprising for me too, since I do not play this opening, but I get it because after take, most of black's game is going to be in the king side, in the queen side, while white is marching on the king side. That was a mouthful to say. So now, this is a new target for me to go after. Now knight a5. If you play something like knight d5, boom, I eat your pawn. If you don't, if you play something like queen d3, again, rook c8, and my ideas with taking over here still are very valid. So knight d5, take, c3 to stop this ideas on b2. Now black to move, what do you think we should do? I'm not very big on Starbucks merchandise, but this cup, this golden cup, really has gotten me. I initially bought it to give it to my mom, but I haven't really seen her since last year. So, well, last year, I mean, Thanksgiving 2019. So, kind of kept it for myself. Hello, Hello, Pishi. We might have the cat joining us momentarily. Oh, such a good boy. He's right here. I don't know if you guys see him. Uh-oh, he might be going for the microphone. Please don't go for the microphone. Whoops. Good boy. At least didn't put fur next to the microphone. Alright. I like the ideas of trying to kick this knight out, but I don't think now is the right time, at least not with the pawn. So pawn e6 is a little too stretching it, because then knight just goes to e3, and if f5's f6, it just creates more weakness. So it's not a good idea to give your opponent that choice. How about something like a5? I kind of like this idea of f5, but I agree that this knight gotta go, and I agree that this knight is not very useful at the moment, so let's just go and try to poke those knights away. By the way, if my camera starts shaking, is most likely because the cat is trying to make a jump from the table to the... Uh-oh, no, getting next to the microphone, Pishi. I'm going to move this microphone gently, so there will be no cat on it, at least at the moment. Whew. The last thing I need is a deaf Ben Simon. Alright. Okay, so, now, I like this idea of knight b6. Thank you for trying my stuff on the floor, Pishi. One more, we'll give you a gold star. And so, after knight b6, it's very interesting because you shouldn't take it, because then I would take it with the queen, and also your b2 is weak, but that's not the only reason. The thing with queen takes b6 is that it's just activation, piece activation, and piece activation is very, very valuable, as I have also been talking about that in my camps. Well, the digital classrooms, they used to be called camps, and now they have a little fancier name. I'm not complaining, I like fancy names. So queen takes b6, attacks your king. Now if you play something like rook f2 to defend over here as well, just rook c8. Piece activity, piece activity, piece activity. And next I could even try to play something like a5s. Anyways, let's go back. So not take, let's say queen e2. Now if you were to take it over here, I could simply take here, attack your knight. Now checks don't work as well, because no rook f2 is needed to defend b2. And this would still be a little better for white, because the center is somewhat open. There's some weak pawns to go after. And so... rook c8 is best. Thank you, Exquisite. Now after rook c8, white... Whoa, that was a good jump. White played king h2. Very gently, king h2, still trying to save the king, put it in a safe spot. Now, question, is it time to kick this knight away? f5 to undermine, maybe. I like the ideas with a5. I think a5 is another great idea, but e6 seems to be the best one. The idea is that if you were to simply take over here, now taking with queen again gives me a lot of space, and if you were to play something like f5, I could take it to the e pawn and just play rook e8. That should be alright enough. Yes, this knight is very strong, I agree. If queen goes to g4, and And then I have rook c7, defending my stuff. I like this position. It's very chill, it's very comfortable. Alright, now what about knight going to b4 when you attack it? Should we chase it with a5 or should we just kind of let it be? I'm a little skeptical on a5 because knight going to d3. The point is that the knight on b4 here isn't really doing much. So if you were to actually kick it away, it would kind of help it. Now the knight is kind of defending the position a little. It's like right back there, so it could look for e5s and f5s. I think knight on d3 actually helps white, so I don't want to help my opponent. So how about knight a4, going after this b2 pawn, trying to put more pressure on it as much as I can. Now if you were to play knight d3, which is the best move, then you could try to play something along the lines of maybe b5, or maybe like a5, trying to still push for b5, or something like queen e7, then next b5. I think that would be another good idea. In the game, Mamedyarov simply played f5. Now, should we take this or not? If not, what do you think we should do? Okay, so I see some nice ideas coming up. Well, b3 doesn't work because of this knight takes c3 idea. So I don't really see too many takes or not, but the problem is that if you were to take it over here, that only helps white because now you have a weak pawn. You open this bishop, you open that bishop. It doesn't really help you much. So what do you think we should do? After this f5, let's say no to take, and what else should there be? So if you don't want to take. So I'm looking at your ideas, and I see the ideas with e5, I see d5, I see rook e8. I'm a little surprised that nobody wants to do tactics. Do you guys think this works? Because if take, you would take that. If take, you would take over here and then take that as well. So what do you guys think about this position? Is this worth it? To be fair, it's very interesting, but the problem isn't that line. The problem is right over here. After he could first of all take over here. Second of all, even in this position, again taking here, this intermediate move is the problem for us as black. Because if we take back now, there could be this check, take, and then rook goes to f1. So there is no more attack in this file. So that's the problem. And if you don't take it back, if you run with your knight, that's another possibility. It still holds you a good fight, but it's not ideal. So you could just take, and well, if you take, now there's going to be I just want this queen to get to d5, so maybe queen d1. If you take it over here, I'll give you this check. This king feels too weak, just compared to this king. I don't even want to make that comparison. White has a better position. It's not winning, but it's definitely a small advantage. So let's go back. To be fair, the best move here is rook e8, so good job on those of you who were thinking about it. After rook e8, again, if you consider taking on b2, that is good too, good job. But maybe a little bit easier to just play chill, rook e8, take, and now you actually want to do this threat, because there's no more rook takes f8, you know, that's rook f8, rook f1 that we just looked at. So in the game, knight goes to d3, defending over here. Knight c5 is a great idea to keep attacking and chasing this knight. If take, we take with rook. That's another idea. To be fair, a lot of chess is just about piece activity. So as long as you are activating your pieces and not allowing your opponent to activate his pieces, that's already a very great idea. So what about this? Let's say after knight d3, knight c5, I like it, but this knight is not the only piece that needs to be activated. So we can simply do queen b6, activate this queen to the best diagonal, bring more stuff on b2, and kind of just wait to see what your opponent wants to do. In the game, Mamedyarov played h4. Now, black to move, what do you think we should do? I'm gonna give you a little hint. I will be very pleased if anybody understands my hint. For those of you who have been watching my lectures quite often, if you remember the game I had with Irina Krush in 2018, the game that I was super winning but I lost, this move is a move that I did in that game, and like the same similar-ish idea. Again, if you figure it out, I'm very impressed, and if you remember that game, I'm super duper impressed. But you could just think about the position too. That's the best option. Whoa. What I recommend in opening and attacking as you develop, well, it really depends, because some people have a very specific style in chess. Some people love playing super close positions. Some people love playing super active positions. So I can't recommend it because I would have to know your style, or you would have to know your style. But depending on what style of chess you like to play, you could have an easier time figuring out what openings to play. Yeah, thank you, right? Well, I didn't show this game in 2018. I showed it about 3 months ago. Still, yes, queen a6 is the best one. Good job. The idea with queen a6 is that you have two undefended pieces on this diagonal, so I'm gonna come poke them. The one thing that I do absolutely love about black's position is that everything is defended with something else. So yes. In the game, white played rook f2, defending the queen. I like it. And now, knight e5. If you were to take it, this exchange, it's better for black because this bishop is kind of blinded. Also, this bishop and this rook are still inactive. My bishop is more activated than yours. If you play something like bishop f4, I could simply take it. After take, now something maybe like rook f8, go after this. Soon there will be e5, and this is a classic type of bad bishop versus good knight, because your bishop is the same color as your central pawn. So in the game, knight e5, Mamedyarov didn't want to take it. He played knight f4. Now, question, should we exchange the queen, or do we have a better move? Should we take the chance to take, or... No, nobody said good night. Nice, okay. Actually, that was a good pawn. Thanks. I didn't get it for a second. Well, to be fair, we want to exchange the queen, but the problem is that we want you to take my queen. I don't want to take your queen. I want you to take my queen. Whoa. I want you to take this. So that's why knight c5 is a better choice, because it kind of pushes you to take it. Take, now I take that. We don't really care about this pawn. We care about the piece activity. This bishop is poor. This bishop is kind of crying. So white played rook e2. And this is a very strong endgame. So after rook e2, you are just simply defending, and you're just trying to, as white, your position, you had a better position in the middle game. Now black is holding a little bit of upper hand, because now I can simply start poking your pieces out, and you can't touch this knight. You can try to touch this knight, but then my bishop will be opened. So that's why black is doing better. Now, black played h6 to try and poke this knight out. Now we play a5, no poking this knight. So this game just turned into from piece activity to pokey, and it's another, it's kind of fun for me. Yeah, crying bishops make me happy. So I'm the opponent. If your bishop cries, I'm happy. After a5, white played something like bishop e3. Now a4. It's like kind of daring you. Come take me if you can. If you take it, I'll take it with d. Good luck touching this knight, or good luck activating this bishop. So in the game, Mamedyarov simply played rook d1, bringing pressure on this poor guy. Rook c6, defending. Bishop d4, bringing more pressure. g5. We had played this h6 to play g5, remember? And now knight goes to h3. To be fair, I think taking was another ideal to try and kind of get a little bit of tempo on it. But, or maybe now after g4, knight could go to f2, try to still hold some pressure or poke in my language. However, in the game, Mamedyarov just went knight h3, g4, knight came back to f4. If the knight went to f2, there would be some h5s. That's why we were talking about take first and then this. So now in this position, we played, Mamedyarov played knight f4. Now, what do you think black should do? Lesson about tempos are never, trying to come up with a good word, never useless. Well, no lesson is useless. Lessons with tempos are always going to be in your heart. That just sounds cheesy. Lessons with tempos are good. It's almost as good as coffee in a gold cup. There you go. Also a little worried my copies might be expired. I remember I Amazoned them a while ago. So I see some nice ideas with rook b8, knight f3. I'm not the biggest fan of knight f3. This is my good knight, that's your bad bishop. I ain't giving you this knight. So, I think it's easier to just go for such a nice idea such as rook b6. Again, I think rook b8 would be good, but I don't really want to deal with my weakness pawn. So, rook b6. And after rook b6, white played knight h5, trying to take away my bishop. We like this bishop, right? Let's keep this bishop. Mamedyarov went rook d2. We double our rooks, simple and sweet. Bishop c5, dc5, and check. I wouldn't exactly recommend on taking, because if you take, I mean, can I take this? Wait, okay. The problem is that you have to go king h5, king h7, and this rook is too activated, because if you play like, then you have like rook a8, poking my pawns, I eat your pawn, you eat my pawn, and then you eat the other one. It's not a good idea. Don't give your opponent activity, so don't take that. But do bring your king up. I believe king h7 is also just as good, but king f7 is a little bit more towards the center, makes me slightly happier. Take, and rook goes to d2. So now, black to move. What do you think we should do? There are different ways to follow up on here, at least 3 ways that are pretty good. Any of them that you suggest, I will happily go off on. King e7, I like it. Knight c4, I like it. Magnus liked it. Magnus did it. The other move that I was going to recommend was a3. Knight c4 is just the easiest one. You give check, I'll save my king, you take over here. Now, the better thing, bishop e5. Kind of putting your knight in a pickle. And in the game it was kind of funny because white took rook takes a4. And Magnus did this one move, and white resigned. So what do you think is this one move? And no, it's not knight takes on b2. No resigning. Knight e3, there we go. Knight e3 is the best one, because now rook b2 is also coming up, and white actually just simply resigned here, because if you played something like b3, now I can just play rook d8 coming from the other side. King g1, I can just go rook d2, and this is just way too painful to continue as we can imagine. But again, my point is that, well, even baby Magnus is pretty strong. So there's another game that I want to show you over here, but we're not going to have enough time to get through all of it, so I'm just going to skip through the opening. I'll show you the opening for like first 10 moves, and then I'm going to jump to the middle game of it. Simple pawns, bye-bye. Let's get my pieces out. Simple gambit. Magnus is black. He probably needs the win. And let's see, which round was this game? This was round 10, so he definitely needs a win. Queen a5, just trying to survive the opening, and I'm pretty sure this was all preparation beforehand. I'm like, no way this was not preparation. Anyways, so we got to castle, and I just wanted to give you a brief overview of how the game started. Now I'm gonna jump ahead to move 30 and show you from here a little bit. There is a critical position in about 5 to 6, 7 moves. Now, let's start from here to just so that you guys can get a small feeling of the position. Black to move, what do you think black should do? To be fair, right now, white has huge advantage, and we're trying to figure out, well, what should black do? I'll give you maybe about 2 minutes so you can also kind of get a little feeling for the position, try to have the chance to evaluate the position, try to come up with some candidate moves, try to get slightly panicked about this pawn. So I see the idea of rook d5, but the problem of rook d5 is that simply, remember, this bishop is pinned, so bishop e6 works. And oops. Rook f8 seems to be the only move to keep the pieces, but the problem is that even if you keep your pieces, that is not going to be good enough. You need more than just keeping your pieces. You need to actually actively use them. So how can you keep your piece activity? Which move helps you keep your piece activity? Oh, exquisite. I'm glad that I helped deconfuse you. Yeah, no, unfortunately, none of these rook moves work. Knight b2 is the best. Queen goes to f3. I try to take that. This is still super loss for black. Black played queen b1. All white had to do was play simple. Simple moves. This is good enough. Taking on e7 is another great move. Taking on f5, just good enough. You take back. White played g4, best move. Queen goes all the way back. Now bishop takes e7. White is completely winning. This is like +7. Black played h5, trying to create some room for breathing. And yes, Magnus is black, yeah. And now I think white started to kind of go a little easy on him. And now here, white made a mistake. White played bishop c7. To be fair, this is not such a humongous mistake because white still has a lot of advantage, but this was like kind of the start of it. It might have been easier to just take over here. If you take, I'll simply take that, and these two pawns are super dominating. It's just a little bit easier for white to just handle this compared to taking on c7. Now black played bishop f5. What do you think white should do? And I believe this is where it started to go down. So it's kind of funny because it looks like white got confused trying to decide how to win. There are like so many different ways to win, so yeah. Queen e7 is the best move, thank you. But, well, in the game, white played queen to e3, and that was a mistake. Can you tell me why it's a bad idea? Magnus did kind of go pew pew. He kind of does that usually. Queen e7 was the best idea. You were correct. Now, what do you think white should do? Sorry, what do you think black should do to this white's mistake? Super sorry. Yeah, eat the free stuff. It's kind of funny because now black is actually thriving and white is in a pickle, because if you go to f2 or g1, boom, bishop d4. If you go to f1, again, I can just try something like knight d1. You have to move this queen, and then I have different type of checks coming up, and that's also going to be checkmate. Now it's winning for black. In the game, white played king g3. It's still kind of still hoping for equality, but black has a very strong move that stops that. So black to move, what should we do? And keep in mind that our main idea is that we want to bring all the pieces to work together. Also, I have so many cat hairs on my face. Ugh. I think that's the only thing that I'm not super happy about having a cat. Way too many hairs. The rest is amazing. Also, if you could just, yeah, be super cute. Yeah, knight c4. Nice. Yep, knight c4 is great. And after knight c4 is so great because if you, right now, it's kind of the best idea for white to play rook d8 and lose the other pawn as well, and then play something like queen b3 to try to keep some activity, and then drop the other one too. And now it's 3 pieces against 2 rook, and now this is actually better for black. Then that's the best line after you lost your d5 pawn. In the game, Van Wely played queen to f2, and can you tell me how can black continue? There's like a super killer move. Queen d3, good job. And after queen d3, king g2. Keep in mind king h4 doesn't work because, well, first of all, I have that, right? Second of all, if you go to king g2, again, I have this bishop check. You kind of have to take it, because if you don't, then I have some background cool checks. So he took here, I take my queen, I take with my queen. King f1, and now, what do you think we should do? Alright, I see great ideas are coming in. I see that you guys are really thinking about having this checks and a lot of bishop d4s. Bishop d4 is a little weird. I like it, but it's a little weird because you give it your opponent a chance to give you checkmate. So bishop d4 is like the next move. Right now you gotta do something else. So you gotta do this check first. And if he went to g1, then yeah, you would have bishop d4s. If he went to g2, then you would have knight e3s. And if, as in the game, queen went to e2, we give this check. And if again he went king f2, we would have bishop d4. In the game went king e1. Now knight f3 check, king f1. Black to move. What do you think we should do? This is kind of a cool move too. Yeah, sir. Okay, I think you guys got it. Yes, we gotta eat pawns, Yasser style. King e1. Now you give this cool check. King goes to g2. What is the killer move? Last move, and black wins. Actually, it's not checkmate just yet, but it is actually checkmate in 7 moves, but you kind of lose your queen, so I think that should be enough. So what do you think should happen right now? Yep, g3, you guys got it, great. g3 is the best move of the position, and it kind of leads to bye-bye queen. And after g3, white actually resigned. So one of the big lessons that I want you guys to learn from this position, from the last game, I wanted you guys to look at the concept of putting pressure and piece activity, but from this one was that here, white is super winning, it's like +7. But here, white is actually struggling to find a draw. So be very mindful, even if you have like a super winning position, try to still keep on fighting and keep the fight going. Make sure, be aware that your opponent can still have some tricks. It's one of the beauties of chess. You can be super losing and still have some tricks up your sleeve. So be very careful of these ideas. And make sure to check the Tata Steel tournament that's going to start from tomorrow. I believe tonight was the opening ceremony, but make sure to check that out as well. And also join me tomorrow on Twitch for our usual King and Pawn warfare and tactics on 5 to 7 Central Time. And with that, I will leave you, and I will probably go try and run a little bit. Probably will fail, but even if I run 10 minutes, I can say I ran. Makes it a little less guilty over chocolate. So I'll probably do that, and I will see you guys tomorrow.